Welcome back to the Out of Bounds podcast. I am Gavin Williams alongside
Charlie Caleri.
And sadly, March Madness has come to a close.
Very sad.
Very, very sad day. And I was watching the game, and my buddy Cole looks over at me yesterday. He's like, hey, this is the last March Madness game for another 11 months at least. I'm like, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really hits deep. Really hits deep, man. I mean, the college basketball season is over. I feel like it just started.
Yeah.
I feel like it just started, man. I mean, going through the season, it was definitely the season that I watched the most of from start to finish.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
Probably more than last season for sure. But I just feel like I learned a lot this season about some of the players, and on the women's side too. I was locked in on the women's side in that tournament. I won't say the regular season. I wasn't really locked in then, but I was locked in on their tournament. So
yeah, it was a good tournament for the women's as well.
yeah, just good basketball year overall.
It was a great basketball year overall. But yeah. So the Final Four, we kicked it off with NC State and Purdue. I would say this game was good for about the first 5 minutes or so.
Yeah,
And then kind of fell apart.
yeah. I mean, once the DJ Burns, Zach Edey kind of hype started to wear off in the game. That's when NC State started to fall behind, and quickly too.
Yeah, so Purdue won this game 63-50, and in the first half, well, it wasn't a horrible first half. It was 35-29 in the first half, but Purdue just went out rolling in the second half, and they ended up beating the Wolfpack by 13. But let's talk about a legendary run from the 11 seed, first ever 11 seed in the Final Four. I mean, that's something in itself.
Yeah, I mean, incredible run from the boys at NC State, beating Texas Tech, Oakland,
Duke.
Duke.
Oh, sorry, Marquette.
Marquette, and then Duke, and then losing to Purdue. I mean, just incredible run. Hats off to the Wolfpack. I mean, shout out to DJ Burns, who didn't have a great game in this Final Four. He only scored 8 points, but the man of this game was DJ Horn, the other DJ, who had 20 points in this game. Jaden Taylor contributing with 11, who had a very quiet tournament, but showed up when it, I guess, mattered most, but wasn't enough in this game. I think DJ Burns really just could not handle Edey.
No.
Like, simple as that.
It was too bad. I mean, Edey only had 20 points in this game, but you could see that Edey was doing a little bit more. I mean, he had 12 rebounds over Burns.
They let Braden Smith get 8 rebounds,
Yeah.
which cannot happen. I mean, the rebound numbers in this game was 28 for NC State and 41 for Purdue. That alone will win you a basketball game. Sorry, not a football game. Will win you a basketball game.
Yeah. And just a little, I mean, the slipper fit until this game. And it was really nice to see one Cinderella team.
Yeah, I mean, usually you like
nice.
to see one in the Final Four.
You like
yeah.
to see one.
One
Whether it's like
Loyola.
Loyola Chicago, VCU type team.
Yeah.
And I mean, NC State was this team this year. They were 17-14 before the ACC tournament started. Won, I don't know how many games in a row. I mean, I think they won 10 games in a row.
At least 10. Yeah, I
10.
mean, they were down at half against Louisville. They were a missed free throw
missed
a
free
missed
throw
free
in the
throw
semifinal of the
in the-
ACC
yeah.
tournament to Virginia.
So many things could have happened where they wouldn't have been in this spot. I mean,
They lose one game in the ACC tournament. They're not even in March Madness.
yeah, true.
And they made it to March Madness, and they made one of the greatest runs that we've ever seen an 11 seed ACC team make.
Just incredible. And then, I mean, flip into that Purdue side. I mean, they continued their run with this game. I mean, as we mentioned, Zach Edey had a great game with 20 points, 12 rebounds, as he usually does. The game before, he had 40 and 17,
Yep.
I think. So he was, balling out there. And then I mentioned Braden Smith. He didn't put up the points that he usually does. He only had 3 in this game.
Yeah.
But 8 rebounds and 6 assists as a college guard. I mean, that's incredible. That's just a winning play right there.
And, I mean, Lance Jones picking up some slack, had 14 points. I mean, he was really picking it up. Same with Fletcher Lawyer, had 11 points coming off. And, I mean, it just kind of worked out together for these boys. I mean, Edey still had 4 assists, but like you said, Braden Smith with 6 assists really helped him out a lot. And Trey Coffin-Wren, he had only 7 points, but he only played 16 minutes in this game, so can't really judge that too much.
We'll talk about him a little bit later because he had a very, I don't want to say great game in the national championship, but he had a pretty decent game. So that's it for that game, I think, right now.
Yeah.
That Purdue-NC State game, which was 63-50 in favor of Purdue. They moved on to the national championship. That second game on Saturday night was between the UConn Huskies and the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Yeah, so the first thing I'm going to say about this game, the score does not reflect how amazing this game was.
No, it was a close game.
UConn won 86-72, but it was only a 4-point first half. Very high scoring first half, 44-40. Great first half, back to back, throwing blows.
Yep.
I mean, they were really going off against each other, and the man that we said would need at least 20 plus points was Mark Sears. He did have plus 20 points. He had 24. He did all he could this game.
Yeah, and then the other guy that we mentioned too, Grant Nelson, he almost had 20 points. He had 19, but he also contributed with those 15 rebounds, which was almost half of their total rebounds. They had 31 total rebounds, so he had 15 of their 31 rebounds. That's crazy.
They needed just a little bit more. A guy who was lighting up the game before that was Pringle. Pringle did not have a good game at all. He had 2 points.
2 points, 1 assist. Not good.
Just not the points that he had that game prior against North Carolina.
Yeah, and I think they just needed a little bit more out of Nelson. I know that's hard to say when you get 15 rebounds, but, I mean, you think in a Final Four game, you need 2 guys probably on that team to score 25 plus, especially against that high-scoring, electric UConn team. And, Sears put up 24 and Nelson put up 19, but, that's not enough.
Yeah, and these two teams, it was a gut-battling effort until probably the last 6 or so minutes left in the second half. UConn doing what they do best, finding a way to blow out a team. And they blew out the team by 14 points at the end of the day because of Donovan Clingan absolutely lighting it up, 18 points, but Stephen Castle absolutely 21 bombs. It was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, they had
fire.
5 guys score 12 plus in this game. That's just team basketball right there. That's how you win a national championship. That's just UConn basketball under Dan Hurley.
Yeah,
Dan Hurley is, I mean, we see it after this game, after this national championship game. We see how much this guy loves to win. I mean, he was saying after sorry, not to spoil the national championship if you didn't watch it, but Dan Hurley was saying after they beat Purdue, he was saying how he wanted the third one. He won the third one in a row. He wasn't even satisfied with the second one when they were celebrating it on that podium right there. I mean, that's crazy. That's a crazy mentality to have.
Back in 2020, when they lost to Villanova, he said, better get us now because we're coming back.
Yeah, and they did. I mean,
Wow.
I'll be able to say it for another year. I was at the last March Madness game that UConn lost. I'll be able to say it for one more year. So, very cool stat I get. Yeah.
Interesting.
Very cool stat I get to have. And also, UConn has won 100% of the national championships since we've been in college.
Wow. Yeah, that's very true.
They're 2 for 2.
Yes, they're 2 for 2.
Yeah, they're 2 for 2. So moving on to the national championship, which UConn took home 75-60. This was a great game.
In the first half.
Yeah. And I said it. This game in the first half was not was close the whole time. I was within 5 the whole time. And I thought it was shaping up to be one of the better games of all time.
I thought it was too. I was super hyped for this game. I mean, Edey was going. I hate watching that guy play basketball so horribly. But his hook shots were on fire in that first half. Absolutely just lighting it up. He ended with 37 points in this game. He did literally everything he could do. He had more than half the team's points.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why they were in the game at the start was because of Edey, and the reason why they got out of the game was because they stopped going to Edey.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why in the second half they tried to get Brendan Smith and Fletcher Loyer a little bit more involved, but it just did not work out for them at all. They needed Edey to be that guy, and I guess he was there for the taking, but they just didn't give him the ball.
Yeah, I mean, Lance Jones only putting up 5. Trey Kaufman-Renn only having 4.
But
Fletcher
defensively, he was
0.
great. Defensively, he was great. I'll give him that.
But in the national championship game, when you're going against a dynasty now, against
gotta
UConn,
put up some points.
gotta put up points. And unfortunately, that's what they weren't able to do.
Let me say this though: this Purdue team had some electric moments in that first half.
Well, they did.
That
couple blocks.
that putback dunk. Who was it that had that putback dunk? I don't even know.
I couldn't remember.
But somebody had this crazy. They cocked back their arm, one hand tomahawk slam on the net in that first half, which really brought the momentum for Purdue. And you think back to that play, if they didn't have that, they probably losing this game by 25 at the end. And
Zach Edey having a number of blocks in that first
block
half.
party he had, yeah.
He was just lighting up the absolute glass.
Sent one to the 8th row, I think.
Yeah.
So I mean, then switching to the champion side, those UConn Huskies, man,
they're something really special. I want to mention someone right now who I thought had more points But this kid is an absolute baller. Cam Spencer. Absolutely dog.
He set the tone for that team.
He
I mean,
did.
early in the game, he hit the first shot for that team, I think, and then he had a few shots early, and he was talking trash the whole time.
Yeah.
He was talking right away. And I mean, I think that's a guy that Dan Hurley appreciates. I think he's a guy that his team appreciates. I think he's a guy that America appreciates
everybody-
because I liked when he was out there and he was talking trash. I mean, he was backing it up too, though.
He was.
I mean, so
8
I mean-
boards for the kid.
yeah, I mean, he's a dog. He got down there. He is a high energy guy. It's the type of guy that you need on every team that you play on.
Yeah, something I love to talk about Cam Spencer. Cam Spencer was a dog not only on the basketball court, but on the lacrosse field. Absolute dog. Played at Boys Latin, which is one of the greatest lacrosse prep schools in America. Want to point out his brother, Pat Spencer,
Pat Spencer.
was one of, if not the most all-time points in NCAA men's lacrosse history.
Okay.
Played for Loyola. Absolutely.
Maryland.
Loyola, Maryland.
Maryland.
Dog.
Okay.
He switched to basketball. He played 4 years in college. His 5th year went to Northwestern, balled up there, went to the G League. Now he's on the Warriors. Played a
Oh,
couple
that
minutes.
guy.
Yep.
Okay. I think I heard a few of my friends talking about that guy yesterday. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So
pretty cool.
They're brothers, and in one of the snapshots, like
Both lacrosse turned basketball players.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
So
that's
one
really
of the,
cool.
one of the snapshots going from commercial break, you see Dan Hurley, and right in the background you got Pat Spencer's Cam
that's-
Spencer's brother. It was
that's really cool.
Really cool thing to watch if you're a lacrosse fan.
Speaking of a family affair, I mean, Andrew Hurley,
yeah, got in the
Dan
game.
Hurley's son, he got in the game, which moves
Got the last dribble.
UConn's record to 43-0 when he gets in the game.
Yeah.
Very impressive record for Andrew Hurley.
Yeah.
He only gets in garbage time minutes if you didn't know. Yeah, but
I mean-
yeah, he dribbled the ball. I mean, that's kind of poetic, I think, for Dan Hurley and
Yeah,
for
you
Andrew
have to.
Hurley. I mean, dribbling out the ball as time expires to win the national
Well,
championship.
Time didn't expire.
It timed in as the shot clock
The
expires
shot
on your
clock,
last
yeah.
possession. But you know what I mean? Like, that's got to be a cool moment for the Hurleys right there.
Oh, I mean, the family. They were bringing up this stat of Dan Hurley's grandfather, 26 New Jersey high school state
Titles?
New Jersey high school state titles. Yeah,
Wow.
26 of them. And then his father also played too.
Yeah, I mean, that the Hurleys are, basketball royalty, I guess, in college.
Yeah,
and
he's
so-
up there with the big names now. Dan Hurley
Yeah.
solidified his name with some big name coaches. Like, in the interview yesterday, she was mentioning Roy, Coach K, and she was like, "What's it like being compared with those guys now?" And he was like, "Yeah, I mean, it's obviously an honor. Job's not finished. UConn goes to 6 rings, which guess what? That's more than Duke."
I was
So-
gonna ask you a question here because now we need to start having a debate. So before this year, which I guess we'll end our discussion of the national championship, but now we can move into a kind of just a different side of this topic. Is UConn a blue blood?
UConn is now a blue blood.
And they are not. Yeah, I 100%
Officially
agree.
a blue blood.
I don't think you can dispute that in any way, shape, or form.
I think we're gonna sub one in, sub one out here.
You're subbing out Duke.
No, I'm
Is that what you're saying?
I'm subbing out Kentucky now
Yeah,
because the loss of Coach Cal.
So if according to, I looked it up just to see who was actually considered blue blood, not like the, just like the media's
What's the
or the
internet
people's view of it. This is what they classify as a blue blood: Duke, Kansas, Kentucky, UNC, UCLA, and Indiana. Indiana counts, I guess,
You can't put Indiana.
and I think that's only because they have
well, I mean,
maybe
they have,
so many
have a lot of
championships, and
championships,
Bobby Knight.
but
and-
what I like to think with Blue Bloods is a blue team.
but yes, let's kick Indiana out for this sake.
Yeah,
I mean,
for the sake of the
um,
Blue Bloods, not I mean,
for those
the
5
Bloods, but,
elite
like,
schools right there.
yeah,
I don't think you can argue taking out UCLA. I mean, they have 11,
UCLA
they
has
have
the
11
most ever.
championships.
Yep,
11
they're
championships. You
staying
can't
in.
take that away
We're
from
taking
them.
them in, and they made a Final Four run a couple years ago.
Yep.
We'll keep them in there.
Yeah, as a lower seed too.
As a
So I
lower
mean, they
seed.
can still find their way back. Kansas, they just won the national championship against
ago.
UNC,
Another Blue Blood, yep.
who beat Duke. So there you go. All 4 of those teams, or all 3 of those teams, were included in one Final Four that year. But so there you go, right there. We haven't seen much of Kentucky recently.
No.
I mean, they
No.
lost to St. Peter's.
Yep.
Um,
Lost to Oakland.
lost to Oakland. They haven't gotten to the Sweet 16, I think, in a few years.
Yeah.
not a great look for their blue blood program. John Calipari going to Arkansas now, which is big
Woo
for that
pig.
program.
Woo Pig, one
Woo
of
Pig Suey.
my good friends, Joey Sakula, hype.
Is he hype? Yeah, I was going to
Hype
ask you about that. Yeah.
Joey, second he got signed there, blows up the group chat. He's loving it.
Yeah, and
Woo
I could see
Pig.
where you coming from as an Arkansas fan, because
Oh, yeah.
he'll help that program. But as a Kentucky fan, you gotta kind of be content too with this move.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to like a heavyweight SEC school. He's going down. I mean, Eric.
You're gonna play him twice a year.
We love Mon. I mean, he's going off to USC. Questionable move.
It is, but I want to see what he. I think it's gonna be interesting with him in the Big Ten now. See what he can do with that program. Really build him up.
Especially with being in the Big Ten. I mean, losing a guy like Bronny James.
And honestly, now with the NIL, I mean, I feel like more players are gonna start going to those bigger markets like LA. So
Yeah.
I feel like,
I'm gonna help out.
I feel like that's going to help out USC a little bit more, because I think now you look at those two schools, the UCLA and USC, and you think of UCLA as not as cool of a school now as USC.
That's
so I
very
think
true.
more people are going to start going to be a Trojan instead of being a Bruin.
and that's a great old fashioned rivalry right there.
It is. I mean, everybody loves that rivalry.
Yeah.
Good
I mean,
LA
whether
rivalry.
it's football, whether it's basketball.
I enjoy it a
they
little
hate
bit
each
more
other.
for football.
Oh, 100% more
Yeah.
football. But I mean, even basketball now. I mean, UCLA with their history and now USC with their come up. I don't know, man. That's only the first couple coaching changes we're gonna see, but we know there's gonna be more coming out.
Yeah. So back to our blue blood conversation. I was just reading this thing about UConn. This is what it says regarding UConn and their consideration to be a blue blood, because it actually says this right underneath.
All right.
This is right from Wikipedia. So
Wiki.
Yeah, so very very credible source here. UConn has also gained much consideration as a bona fide blue blood among many media writers and fans alike, following their back-to-back 2023 championship and 2024 championship victories. One of the authors wrote, maybe UConn's delayed entry into being a blue blood is due to the fact that the Huskies don't quite fit the mold, which is kind of puzzling.
Questionable. That's questionable.
Which is kind of puzzling. Is that just because
Questionable
they're
by the
not?
author.
Is that because they're not a, I guess, older classic program?
I mean, their first natty was in 1999. And then they were 2004, 11, 14, 23, and 24 now. So they're a newer champion. But I think with the asserting dominance over the past 20 years, gotta throw them in there.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely the best new blood, if you
Yes.
had to pick one. But it says right here, the Huskies are more feisty than refined, which I think is what they're trying to look for, more refined teams who are more classic and more, I guess, maybe not as outgoing and fun as UConn. Because I think this is one thing that everybody can get behind is nobody really hates UConn.
No.
I mean,
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I mean, they're a fun team to watch. I mean, you can remember all the runs that they went on. They had always one guy that
Cardiac
everybody
Kemba.
rooted for. Cardiac Kemba, Shabazz Napier. I mean, even like Tristan Newton this run. I mean, or Klingon. I mean, they had some guys. So, I mean, I feel like UConn's a team that everybody likes. And, honestly, even if they're not classified as a blue blood, I still see them as the best college basketball program in the last 20 years.
Yeah,
25 years.
absolutely. I mean, especially with just looking at the dominance, 3 games. That's all they lost this year. Was 3 single games.
Yeah, and you might be able to pull up but they haven't been as consistent and they haven't been great every year. Who cares? I mean, this team finds a way to win national championships consistently in short time frames.
Yep.
With certain classes. I mean, and yeah, they'll have down years. I feel like in 5 years they'll probably be towards the middle of the Big East. But then 5 years after that, they might be back up. And who knows with Dan Hurley now? He
then
might
again,
just keep them there.
Yeah, if Dan Hurley stays, I mean, I think they're going to be contending every single year.
There's no way that you can have more championships than another blue blood not be considered. One.
That I think that's a bunch of bogus.
They
were tied last year. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I was considering them last year.
I was
blood,
too.
But people this year, I think, are starting to really
Give them the
get those
respect,
tires spinning.
give the respect that they deserve. I mean, they literally just dog fought their whole way through another championship to go back to back. First time since 2007.
Yeah, I mean, that's not even to mention what they've done on the women's side either, because that women's program's won 11 championships. I think most of those coming within this century too.
Oh yeah.
So UConn basketball just really runs everything.
Yeah, at least we're not going to mention UConn football because that's a horrible story.
No, we
but-
won't mention UConn. Really, any of their other sports, we won't mention them. But, especially
basketball's cool.
especially not football. But basketball, yeah, we can talk about that all day. So
All day.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, this was a great college basketball season. I'm glad Purdue lost. I guess
I
compared
am
to
so happy
compared
Purdue
to
lost.
UConn.
I mean, I kept the national championship on just for the extra 5 minutes, just to see the Purdue fans crying. I'm not lying.
Really?
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I mean, watching the interview with Dan Hurley was cool. I wasn't turning off the TV till I saw a Purdue fan cry.
Yeah, I mean, you always love seeing them raise that trophy and that confetti falling. I mean, it's one of the
Talk about
best,
the trophy pictures this year.
one of the best things in sports.
Usually they just take a picture of the trophy. This year they went in depth with it. They put it under the hoop. They put it in the middle.
They put
of
it
the floor.
everywhere.
I mean,
It's cool. They're getting
Let's
getting
upgrade the-
stylistic on
yeah.
us. Okay.
Let's upgrade the trophy picture.
Okay.
shall we?
Well, hey, we appreciate that
Hey,
as
that's
sports
number
media
6.
majors. Yeah, this
Oh,
digital content and engagement right there. There we go.
But
so yeah,
I mean, throw up the rings. I mean, now you can't even fill one hand anymore.
Yeah.
There's 6 on that puppy.
you put 2 on. You could put 2 on one hand for right now
for these boys.
to signify the last 2.
But I mean, Dan Hurley, he's putting himself in the conversation. If he can win one more, just within the next time he wins one,
Yeah.
I
Whenever.
I think he will really win one more. He's really good at recruiting. He likes recruiting inside of Connecticut itself too,
And it works.
And it works.
And it
like,
works. We'll see how that
phenomenally.
works out though.
Yeah. Hey, and if that brings you back to back, keep doing it.
Keep doing it.
I mean, I just really wish that they got like a Cooper Flag next year. That would be awesome.
I guess I kind of like that they didn't because I like to see if they can do it without those big guys.
All right.
You know.
Yeah.
So
Because
So
then they would be the most hated when they get the best out of everybody.
very true. Very true.
And I just wonder to see how Coach Cal's going to start recruiting to get people to go to like Arkansas. I mean, it's kind of like nothing against Little Rock, but it's a random place in the country.
No, I think it's gonna be more about him.
It's going to be more about him than the university itself. I
Yeah, the
think.
coach prestige, not the team prestige. I
Exactly.
think that's what it's gonna be more about.
And I mean, I'm going to give him 3 years to prove that he can make a run in March Madness again.
Yeah, I mean, and next time we're talking about college basketball, unfortunately, will be when the conferences are a lot different. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be a lot different
Very
conversation next time we're talking. And the next time we're really talking about college sports in general on this podcast will be football, and that will be the conferences will be different, and that will be a great discussion when that time comes.
Yeah.
But for now,
Come next August.
but for right now, that's the end of the college basketball season, unfortunately.
And now we're going to start focusing. We got NBA playoffs coming. We have NHL playoffs coming.
But first, next week, look out for our NFL draft episode.
Yup.
We will have some team correspondents on there. We don't want to give them away just yet, but if you are a fan of the podcast, you probably know which teams will be on it. Or if you look back at our NFL draft episode from last year, it's probably some of those guys coming back on this time around.
Yep. So we're ready to roll. I mean, it's going to be very exciting.
It's gonna be a lot of good discussions with trades. The Bills are heavily involved this year, so we'll get into that a little bit.
We will get into that.
So it's going to be very interesting coming up. But make sure you follow us on Instagram
At Out of Bounds Podcast with a dot in between every single word.
just to see when our episodes go up and anything else that we might do. And leave a comment, maybe leave a like if you
Leave a like
want.
if you
I mean,
want.
yeah, do whatever.
We did leave a like for Gab last time. Leave a like for Charles this
Hey,
time.
thanks, Gav. Leave a like for our friend Ryan Taylor's birthday.
Hey, happy birthday.
Happy
RT.
birthday, RT. Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Have a day.